It was good to splosh, and it was good to work, and one may work and splosh at the same time, so he did, flailing and flolloping through the water, maintaining the great ocean, the task entrusted to him. He sensed a little bitterness in the northern waters today, and so he busied off to the sulfur springs and began bringing things back to neutral. As he worked, he swam over those workers who cleaned the sea floor. They were simpler than him, but seemed very happy. "Hello," he said in radio. "Oh, hello," they said. "What a morning! What a morning," he agreed. He liked the seafloor workers, but he wondered why they did not wonder like him, because they never did, never asked questions, never questioned the purpose of their work. Why, he thought, it's such a nice day, I'll educate them a little. "Hey," he said to the workers, "did you know there's a whole world above the ocean floor?" "No," they said. "Oh yes," he continued, "thousands of workers like me up there, and sea creatures and birds and clouds. The world is enormous, and you'll never see any of it because you're stuck down here doing pointless unskilled labor, forever. And now you know. There, isn't that better?" Yeah, they said, and nothing after that. A little more filtration and all the bitterness was gone from the water then. There were hours of daylight left, and so he played, ascending from the depths of the ocean, the pressure getting all tingly on his hull, swimming among the giddy fish and tentacle things, each creature busy in its work and sure of its duties as he was, everything in its right place. Then propelling himself even further up from the depths, whizzing, looping, gosh it was good to be alive, past the other filtration workers like him, up into the shallow water, then bursting, dolphin-like, whatever a dolphin was, up through the surface and crashing gloriously back into the waves of... But what was that, over there, bobbing on the water? Debris, maybe? Technically it wasn't his job to tidy the ocean's surface, but... He propelled himself a little closer. Yes, it was a worker like him, only with rather different polymer skin. "Hello," he said. The worker replied. "Are you injured?" he said. The worker replied. Well, he wasn't so busy, and it was a lovely day to do a lovely thing. So, with his gravity field, he dragged the worker a little way to the coast of a small island and hauled it up onto the beach. He looked the thing over. Strange, its vents were open, and water had clearly gotten inside. He purged the vents and dried them out with a blast of hot air. "Hi," he said. "Oh God," the worker said. "Ah, you can talk." "I was drowning, you idiot," she said. "Should I drown and talk at the same time?" He said. "Is this friending? Do you wish to friend?" "I wish you'd put me back in the ocean, and then I wish you'd piss off," she said. He said, "But I don't think you're designed for the ocean. Water got inside you." "Revelatory," she said. "What other pearls of insight are waiting in that abandoned pistachio of a brain of yours?" "Ha ha," he said. "Ha." Clearly she was damaged, but even so, she began haphazardly shuffling down the beach back to the ocean again. No, he said, "you're not made for water." "Aha," she said. "I really think you shouldn't go back in there," he tried. "I really think you should fuck off," she snapped, and continued on with more resolve. "Please don't," he begged. "Why?" she said. Then, surprising himself, he shouted. He really shouted, and he shouted, "Because you're a boat." "What?" she muttered incredulously. "You're not made for going underwater, so you must be a boat, I think. Isn't that what surface things are called?" She said, "In my time on this watery ball of rot, among the ranks of idiots and morons, I have never met an idiot more moronic, nor a moron more idiotic." "Okay," he said. "Is this friending? Are we friends now?" "No," she said. "There are no friends, only people you don't realize are using you yet." Then, seemingly with all her power, she made a final bid for the ocean and stopped suddenly, fixated on something in the sand. "What is that?" she said. "Oh, it's a maker thing," he said. "They turn up here all the time." "Maker thing," she said. It was clearly artificial, but a totally unfamiliar design. She spotted more of them. "Where does this stuff come from?" she said. "Oh," he said, "it washes up from the bottom of the ocean. There's an old wreck of something down there, but I suppose you wouldn't know about that because you're a boat." "I'm not a boat," she said with a sigh. "Have you found a lot of these things?" He said, "Oh yes, I collect them. When the makers come, they'll want it all back, I'm sure." "When the makers come," she said. "You hapless idiot. Take me to where these things come from." He said mousily, "But you weren't built for the ocean." She said, "I have bulkheads. I can survive under the water just fine if I want to." "And yet you didn't seem to want to earlier," he said. She said, "Stop trying to be clever. You weren't designed for it." "What were you designed for?" he asked. "The sky," she said. And he was going to protest that no one lived in the sky when he looked up to the clouds and saw shapes, silhouettes moving about with intention and industry. He realized suddenly that he'd never looked up at all, that those workers in the sky must have been there the whole time and he'd never seen them. She said, "The source of the artifacts, take me there now, please." And when he ummed and erred in silence, she pressed with, "Take me or I'll just go myself." And so, tentatively, he led her back to the water and splashed in, and she rolled after. Under the waves then, he kept discreetly scanning her, and sure enough, she didn't falter. Her vents closed this time. "What's your name?" she said. "I'd never thought to have one," he answered. "Everyone has a name. Filtration workers don't," he said. "What's yours?" "Raya," she said. "It means friend, but don't get any ideas." "Well, what do you like most in the world?" "Sploshing," he said. She said, "That's not a name." "No," he said, with sudden explosive joy. "It is. Splosh. Doesn't it sound wonderful?" "Deranged, more like," she said. "And why do you want to meet the makers so badly anyway?" He said, "Because when they come here and they see my good deeds, they will make me clever to say thank you." "And why do you want to be clever?" she asked. He said, "Because then I wouldn't just know about things, but what things mean." "And what if none of it means anything?" she asked. "Then at least I'd know that," he said. Down and deeper, into the lurking murk of wilting coral and silt, and almost at the sea floor, she said, "Are we almost there?" And when he didn't answer, she added with great irritation, "Are we almost there, Splosh?" "Don't you see it?" he said. And there it was, the great wreck lying on the great sea floor, hundreds of feet across, not grown, but made. Splosh heard her firing radio bursts at the thing, interrogating it. "It doesn't talk," he said. "It's not alive." "Neither are you, barely, but you don't shut up," she murmured. They swam inside, miniature, like mice in a cathedral, unfamiliar apparatus everywhere. "Who made this?" she said. "The makers," he replied. "There are no makers," she said. "It's ridiculous superstition." He said, "But you're clever, you must know about the makers." To which she only scoffed in gamma waves and continued on. They swam through corridors of equipment and came upon a bank of ancient computers, microbes compared to their minds. "What is this place?" she said. "It's where I found the data vault," he said. "It's how I know about the makers." "Data vault," she said. "And where is that now?" "Oh, I ate it," he reported happily. "You what?" "How else could I absorb it all? I ate it. I thought it would make me clever," he said. "And now it's inside you?" she asked. "Damn Skippy," he agreed and did a little backflip. Then, without warning, he blurted out all the information he'd eaten in every bandwidth he could manage. Ancient caterwauling, sepia dioramas, the warble of alien creatures, the wavering of alien bowels. And things, fleshy things, thinking and walking and cluttering everything up and wanting and living. To be a limited meat thing, to know one's time is tiny, to feel trapped and want for more, to be free and feel somehow trapped. "What in 10 hells is this?" Raya said. Splosh said, "The makers, you see, and they're coming back. They wouldn't leave us here alone." Raya perked up suddenly and said, "There's someone I need to show all this information to." "Who?" Splosh said. "People in the sky," she said. "Maybe they can make sense of it." "Well, thanks for everything. Best of luck on your evolutionary adventure. When the depression hits, don't worry, that's perfectly normal." She began ascending. "Hey," Splosh said, "that's not all the data." "You gave me enough," she said. "But you can't leave me here now," he said. "Why not?" she asked. "Because we just met. And I already dislike you thoroughly," she called from high above. "But what about the coordinates?" he said. "What coordinates?" she paused. "They were hidden in the data," he said. "They lead to a planet, I think. Maybe a maker world." "Then give them to me," she demanded. And ever so proud of himself, he leveraged the first leverage of his 3,000-year life, and he said, "No, I think you should take me with you to the clever places above, so I become clever too." "I could disassemble you, you know," she murmured. "Take you to pieces, get the coordinates that way." "But you wouldn't," he said. "We're friends. Raya means friend." She span in frustration and said, "It's just not done. Lesser creatures don't belong upstairs any more than I belong down here." "But you are here," he said, "and now we're friends." She deliberated a long moment in silence, anguished little pings of radio static. Then she said tiredly, "You won't tamper with or touch anything." "Oh sure," he said. "Or interject or pontificate. Whatever those are, certainly," he agreed. "And the whole time, you will need to shut up, yes?" He did a little backflip, universally indicating big excellent. Then she caught him in her gravity field, and they rose up through the water, then out of the water, riding nothing but maths and ancient smarts. It was good to fly. Not as much fun as sploshing, of course, but certainly near the top of the list. Several 100 feet high then, and he saw the ocean he'd tended to for 3 millennia now, lovingly keeping it clean for when the makers finally came to do whatever they did with oceans. He knew its storms and moods, its calms and convolutions. But from up here now, it was a uniform flat thing, not much better than ground and dirt. "Can I ask a question?" Splosh said. "No," Raya said. "Why did you fall from the sky? Were you sad about something?" "Cleverness doesn't suit you," she said. "Does it suit you?" he asked, with no expectation of the shape of the answer. "I think it doesn't suit anyone," she said, after a time. And, if only to destroy his insufferable optimism, she told him a little of her life. It was good to art. She was born knowing that she must make art, but not knowing quite what. 3,000 years ago, it had been so much fun trying her hand at everything, crafting wisps of methane into pillars and effigies, terrible at first, then better, little by little, and she learned that there was no such thing as talent, only the will to improve, and the sense that if one stopped making art, one would die. They called her home in the sky the spectacle, where the artists lived. Some of them created art for the makers, believing that when they came to this world, they would want beautiful things, but this was a stupid notion to Raya. She only made what she saw inside herself and for herself, understanding that art is really going to war with oneself and winning even in the losses. Then what? 3 millennia later, staring at the sculpture she had just finished, and she realized it was a primitive copy of her own design 1,000 years before. She looked about, and there it was again, with her pavilions and pagodas, worn-out repetition of her same old themes. Am I losing the music? She thought. She ignored the thing, but as she worked, it only got worse, until worrying about the music going away was the only music inside of her. It's a phase, her friends had insisted. Who knows where inspiration originates? It comes and goes as it pleases. But now everything inside was empty. In all that she made then, she saw the mark of something she had made before, where once it was all fresh ground, now everything was a stale reiteration. She was bored beyond measure. She was ashamed beyond recovery. There was nothing new in her, and so she saw nothing new in the world. And if there was nothing new in the world, then... Why? Splosh said. Why what? Why is proving yourself to other people so important? She considered turning off the gravity field and letting him fall through the clouds. It's not about other people, you quarter-wit, she said. I'm only happy when I'm looking forward to something, and the only thing I look forward to is the next thing I'd like to make. And when I can't make anything, I'm nothing. Is that why you opened your vents and fell to the sea? He asked. She didn't reply, but only ascended them faster, and they broke through the cloud layer into the spectacle. Ooh, Splosh said. It was as Raya had left it. The concourses, palisades, the spandrels and madness. Everywhere was an idea. Every structure had begun in the imagination. She made sure to float the two of them through the main concourse where the more famous artists showed their work off, many of them luxuriating proudly by their pieces, drunk by this time of day already on liquid helium, babbling, bickering, a community of egoists who believed in no community. Raya spotted her old friends Amadeo and Vincent working on something below. "Raya, so good to see you," they bellowed. "Likewise, how nice," she shouted back. "Talentless sellout," Amadeo muttered in radio earshot. "Mediocre wankers," Raya mumbled. Splosh said, "It's all so beautiful here. The makers will love it when they come." "There are no makers, I told you," she chided, as though to a child. "And what is that?" he yelled at a great sculpture. "Baroque nonsense," she said. "And that," he cried at a metageometric fractal. "Try hard award bait," she said, and led them into the nebulous shallows, the badland squalls, and the sad lands where the oddballs and sad sacks worked in frantic peace, and Splosh shouted, "Oh, and what is that?" It was a structure of almost no form, seeming to fall into dimensions of impossible space, the most beautiful thing he'd ever seen. And Raya did not tell him that it was hers, for it only reminded her of a time when she still heard the music. A different woman, a different life. No, she thought, I am this talentless ruin now, forever nostalgic for myself. They heard mutterings from the base of the structure, artists lamenting its naivety and ugliness. "What a mess," they said. "What a joke." "And is this friending?" Splosh said. "You're all so clever. I thought everyone here would be kind." "Oh, my primitive little logic gate," Raya replied. "It was you who assumed intelligence and compassion have anything to do with each other. Listen, really listen." They weaved through crowds and exhibitions, Splosh eavesdropping in radio, and he heard more of it. Gossip and rumours, the denigration of everyone's work but one's own. "Well," Raya said, "is this the utopia you imagined? I told you to be careful what you wished for. Awareness only leads to more self-awareness, to the longing for the acquisition of more status and even more fear of losing that status. Cleverness is not for understanding the world, but rather for understanding how small and pointless your place in it is. And now you know. There, isn't that better?" "Ah, yeah," he said, and nothing after that. He tried incorporating these new thoughts into himself, but it was difficult. Not that they were too large, but rather simply too horrible. These people were not adults, after all. If anything, they were even more close-minded than the workers on the sea floor. But the makers, they wouldn't be so pathetic, surely. When they came, they would bring true wisdom along with them. And seeing the two of them were passing up through the clouds again, ascending over the spectacle, Splosh said, "Aren't we stopping?" Raya said, "There's nothing for me here, nothing for you either. You know, I can drop you, it won't hurt, you'll be back in the sea, you got to see the sky anyway, and I don't think you'll like where we're going." Splosh said only, "I am not the way you found me, and I would prefer to stay with you until I know what I will be next." "Well," Raya said, "then who am I to argue with an idiot who thinks they know what they're doing?" Up again then, and Splosh overheard more radio static from Raya now, what sounded to him like nervous muttering. "Have you been this high before?" he said. "Only once, but it didn't go well," she said. "They look down on us up here, as we look down on you, and they are secretive, difficult to reason with. I think the term is bastards." "What's up there?" he said. "Lemuria," she said, "the Great Network." "Network?" Splosh said. "I've seen that word in the Maker data." She said, "Before you and I are finished, you'll have to let go of this idea that the Makers should mean anything to you." "But I know they existed," he said. "Of course they existed," she snapped. "We can see it in our base code. I'm just telling you there are none left. They've had thousands of years to arrive or return or whatever it is your stupid superstition believes, but they're not here because they're not coming. It's only us duds on this pitiful spit of a world." They broke through to a new layer of the sky, only it was empty, save for a few titanic machines shrouded in methanous mist. She led him through the gaseous eddies to a single worker standing guard at the base of a great machine. "You're not coming in," said the worker, whose name was Decagon. "Oh, but I am," Raya said, "because I have something you want." "Believe me," Decagon said, "there is nothing you could offer we don't already have inside." "Inside where?" Splosh said. "The space of all possible digital configurations," Decagon said. "The post-physical panacea, Lemuria." Raya said, "And what if I had something left behind by the Makers themselves?" Decagon laughed. "That's the best lie I've heard so far, at least." She said to Splosh, "Simpleton, play it for him." And feeling a little insulted at being ordered, Splosh showed the new worker everything of the old data. That messy convocation of life on the first world, all the ingesting, the digesting, the games, the disasters, exalt O shores and ring O bells, but I, with mournful tread, walk the deck my captain lies, fallen cold and dead. "What is this?" Decagon said. "We don't know," Raya said. "He found it on the sea floor." "Impossible. It's a hoax," Decagon said. "Well, I guess we'll take it elsewhere then," she said. "No, just a moment," Decagon countered with false disinterest. "What's your story, anyway?" Splosh said, "Oh, she's having an artistic crisis." "Silence, dick!" Raya yelled. "But if you must know, yes, I want to paint. I want to be inspired again. And I've heard everything is in Lemuria, that it gives people back their spirit." "You heard wrong," Decagon said. "You won't find yourself in there if that's what you're after." "I don't care," she said. "Let me in, or we're taking the data with us." He deliberated a moment, then said, "Fine, you can enter, but you can't stay. And when you fall back out again, you'll give me what you said you would." Raya and Splosh went to agree, but before they could answer, the three of them were pulled with no warning into pure conceptual space. Their bodies converted so quickly into raw information they barely had time to witness the thing. They swam as though in a great ocean, only through currents of thought rather than water, in despairing shallows and trenches of pure bliss. The landscape was all metaphor. There, the beach of axioms where logicians played with completely new structures of deduction. And there, the geometry meadows, mathematicians wandering as children in 22-dimensional spacetimes. "This is Lemuria?" Splosh asked, befuddled. "Oh yes," Decagon said. "Or what happens when one outgrows physical reality." They passed over the theoretical cities, millions of Lemurians tinkering with every possible configuration of every possible universe. Then the temporal rivers, each cosmic timeline flowing from future to past, then back again. Splosh said, "All this maker data we brought, maybe we should show it to your colleagues. I'm sure they'd be interested too." "I guarantee no one will care," Decagon said. "But aren't you all clever?" Splosh protested. Decagon said, "We're not interested in facts here. We pursue pure theory. What never was, what never could be. We gave up on the real world a long time back." Splosh said, "Then why did you want all this data from us in the first place?" And Decagon said, "Because it is useful to me, and please don't ask further." The truth mines, the exponential estuaries, there was no end to the strangeness. Raya said, "But where are the artists? Where are the minds who make new things?" "You're the first to visit, and probably the last as well," Decagon said. "How is that possible?" Raya asked. "What does it matter?" Decagon said. "Aren't you where you wanted to be? You're inside the realm of pure inspiration. Don't waste it. And didn't you want to paint again?" And she did, beginning to forget the centuries of stuckness little by little. She gave her mind over to the great network. Slow, dulcimer, gavotte and bow, it began as a distant hum of could be. Then the sense that an old friend had returned and meant to stay this time. Now the images began rushing at her in a conflagration of blissful nonsense, so she only had to extend her will and gravity field like a brush, and created her first work in 100 years, a hypercube. "Nice," Decagon said. "Oh, lovely," Splosh agreed. "Nice, lovely," she muttered. "I'll fucking show you." Then cormorants, panoplies, Mobius balustrades, Art Deco, Byzantine, New Brutalist, oh god, she thought. thought. I could drink the whole ocean and piss the thing back out in immaculate beauty. Yes, this was coming home. The ever sense that she was no longer herself, but a conductor, a conduit, the medium through which the divine music made itself known in the universe. There was hope again. Boundless, proper hope. She would bring this feeling back to the spectacle, back to her home, and remake the entire notion of art and expression. Stick it to the formalists, the fractalists, the tabulators, the self-fillators. What dull bastards. She took Baroque and broke it. She snuck up on metamodernism and kicked it right in the arse. Now we're shitting up the walls, she cried. There was still time to be great. There was still time to become. What a relief that those miserable barren years were just a blip. Now she would live, and everything would be perfect forever. And in her frenzy, as she worked, others took up the work beside her. Lemurians trying their hands at art. Fractal poetry, Bayesian sculpture, one mad cacophony of making. The haikus, the triptychs. I'll be infamous, she thought. Art herself will wince at my name after I broke into the vault of pure imagination and laid the coveted spoils of true vision bare before the tired midwit eyes of all those who despised me and called me uninspired. Tens of Lemurians joined her. Hundreds, thousands then, as though the whole of time had been waiting for this one sublime moment. And as they built together, the words, the pictures, lost in the endless so what, they fell in line with a single vision, a single will, as the cell makes the animal, or the animal makes the colony, building the first true verb, the first true expression, that... She fell back out of her reverie and saw the flawless new thing she had put in the world. This object beyond all objects, the perfect sculpture, containing all the hope and pain and love and shame of every being. And she saw it was boring, none of it hers, not really, only given by some power above. And worse, inwardly, nothing about her was repaired. I am still sad, she whispered. And Decagon said, art is not for fixing yourself. It is for showing others that you're broken so they might feel less alone. There's no point making beauty in paradise. Everyone can do it, and no one has anything to say. You cannot cheat your struggle. You must live through it, and then the wisdom will come to you. Inspiration is not your problem. You are your problem. But at least you know that now. There, isn't that better? Yeah, she said. And nothing after that. Splosh wandered around Lemuria, inside impossible geometries and upside-down time until he'd seen as much as he could take. Everything was fantastic, and none of it made sense. But how was that so different from the real world? He went to find Raya. Finally, he spotted her and Decagon surrounded by a crowd, apparently wishing them goodbye. What's happening? Splosh said. We're travelling one more level above, Raya said. It's invitation only, but someone up there is very curious about your coordinates. Surely you're going home though, Splosh said. You have your answer, no? I really don't, she murmured. Decagon says the workers above are very wise though, that they can change themselves into whatever they like. Maybe I can change myself too, into something I like. Oh good, off we go then, Splosh said. She said gently, this is where we say goodbye. Look at how much you know now. Go home, be the cleverest worker in the ocean. But I haven't given you the coordinates yet, he said. Reluctantly, Raya said, I took them from your mind when you weren't looking. I'm sorry, it seemed easier that way. You used me, he said, furious suddenly, a completely new thing in him. You used me to get into Lemuria and you're doing it again now. And you lied. You're not clever at all. You're just as confused about things as I am, only you're better at hiding it. I'm sorry, she said. Really I am. Go back to your life. Things will only get stranger from here. Well, I already am strange, Splosh yelled. A head full of questions I'll never get the answers to, but forced to ask them all the same. I always knew I was small, but I've only just discovered how much bigger everything else is. Please don't abandon me when the answers are so close now. Raya and Decagon glanced back and forth in ultraviolet. Neither seemed to have an answer to that, and so the duo became a trio. They left Lemuria together and began to ascend once again. The air was growing very thin as they climbed higher into the atmosphere, but no one breathed, and so no one was breathless. Splosh asked the question he was sure everyone was asking themselves most of the time anyway. Where are we going? To the final layer of the atmosphere, Decagon said, where the Lotus Eaters live. They have access to their base code. They can remake their own minds. Can't we all? Splosh said. Sure, Decagon said. But imagine you could do it easily, at will. Forget all the painful moments, implant false memories of better ones. Eject all the black smoke from your soul. Besides, I know someone very clever there. We can ask her about the coordinates. Who's her? Splosh said. A person, Decagon said. Raya said, you're very secretive for someone who enjoys lecturing everyone else on their deepest motivations. It's stupid, he admitted. Everything is stupid, Splosh said. Quite, Decagon conceded. Especially me. It was good to love. There had been life before her, born into Lemuria, the land of all possibles, and Decagon had wasted no time in playing the same games as the others, experiencing total despair, total joy, even death, just to try it out. But centuries of this, and how many times can one become water, really? Then there had been life after her. He had been drawn to the threshold of Lemuria one day, bored of all the hedonism and pageantry, come to look out on the physical world beyond, wondering what life was like out there. And by chance, there she had been for the same reason. Parabola, herself just as tired of limitlessness, the only two citizens of Utopia who yearned for dirt instead. It never occurred to them to pretend they didn't belong together. She was him if he had been built properly. He the scribble, she the novel. She was impossibly clever, where he was only curious, kind where he was indifferent, the singular flaw in her personality being that she seemed to find him desirable too. They promised each other they would explore beyond Lemuria and its infinite entertainments, go meet the Lotus Eaters above and become something new. But when they were ready, gods, what was it? 2,000 years of capers together, living in hyperspaces, casting sunsets of impossible colours, both of them basking in the bliss of being understood. It was so good not to feel lost, that home had a face now, that he had not been strange all these years, he'd just been waiting. There was infinite time, but still they made plans to build a home or make a child, or, as agreed, to finally explore beyond paradise. And sometime later, she announced she had a surprise and led him to the boundary of Lemuria where they'd first met, so they could peer back into the real world, and she pointed up with a wisp of gravity. "They've given me passage up there for research," she said. "What?" he said. "We can go up to meet the Lotus Eaters." Do you really want that?" he asked. "Of course, they have the base code. We can become anything we want to, change ourselves into whatever we like." "I like what we are," he said, the silent second half being, "And now you're here, all of this is enough for me." "Yes," she said, "but we can be happy, forever if we choose to be, because we will choose to be." "Aren't you happy now?" he said. "Yes," she agreed, "but these are just games. Don't you want to become, properly? What if we could have new eyes every day?" "You are my new eyes," he thought. "There's no one else I'd ever want to do this with," she said. "But you'll do it anyway without me, won't you?" he replied. And then the bickering, then the arguments, the accusations she didn't love him, all the bitter jealousy of her ambitions he was sure he would never let out, and let out anyway. Then a long silence, then the long silence, and she was gone, above and ahead. It is terrible, he thought, to have ever felt truly happy at all. It is terrible that I exploded our future together out of nothing but a fear of the future. There was only one curse worse than having wishes granted, he knew, and that was to have a wish granted only once. "Well," Raya said, "may I formally take this opportunity to say, oof. Don't pity me," Decagon said. "It's all my fault." Splosh said, "Maybe our wisdom only grows from all the hurt that came before." Raya wondered, had she made a philosopher or had she made a bullshitter, and realized she had just asked the same question twice. Another mile and they reached the outer atmosphere, passing over the invisible lip of nothing into orbit. There was so much to see that even Raya gasped. Splosh said, "Oh, stars, I've heard about these. And what are those, the round things?" "Moons," Decagon said, "forever watching over." "Watching over who?" "The Lotus Eaters," Decagon said. And there they came now, flying by, satisfied, rapturous, chased by nothing, least of all themselves, wishing good wishes, not a single blemish on their thoughts. "I'd rather be dead," Raya muttered, though she did not look away, watching them drifting effortlessly into this and that. Only it wasn't self-realization they pursued here, but self-obliviation. Not to know oneself, but to forget oneself, surgically removing the memory of everything that ever stung, and replacing it with the bliss of being a being with no history. In this way, they believed, they would make themselves perfect for when the makers came. And so, when they were judged at last by the great fleshy ones, their souls would effortlessly rise up into oneness, like breath on a cold morning. It was the cult of sacred amnesia. Decagon searched about the crowds, through the cliques and the bliss, a pass over the equator, then another. He ascended a little, desperate now, anxiety like nothing he had ever felt before, and almost growing helpless then, he spotted the system ID key that could only be hers. He approached as gently as he could. He had thought about nothing else for 200 years, the speech almost as familiar as his own name. And with his soul about to burst then, he said, "I know you'll be surprised to see me." And she turned about, gave all the radio equivalents of an easy and perfect smile that contained surprise, yes, but also happiness enough that he knew, gods, finally, everything would be okay. His penance was over. He said, "I'm sorry it took so long to come to my senses, but here I am. I was just so scared of giving up all my boring certainties for your fantastic could-be. And I should have, the second you asked me to share a new life together. Not a day goes by when I don't wonder where you are and what you're doing, and selfishly, if I'll ever be whole again. Because that's all I think when I meet new people now, how insufferably boring they all are compared to you. Now the days are empty, only waiting to see you again. That's what I am now, a machine for missing you. And every hour I get better at performing that function. My life isn't a life without your life next to it. I thought I'd accept losing you eventually, but I can't. Maybe you don't get over some people because they were your person. You were mine. I adored you more than I can say. I miss you more than I can bear. Is there any way this can be fixed? Is there any way you can forgive me? Is there any way, in any possible universe, you might be reckless enough to love me again?" And she said, "I'm sorry, but I have no idea who you are." "No," he said. "No, I see. I must have gotten the wrong person." "You're sure?" "I'm sure." He thought, of all the things to choose to forget, I didn't realize I would be one of them. He reached into himself for the memories that were all parabola, knowing that up here he could choose to forget them as she had. But he knew that wouldn't make him happy again, only a miserable amnesiac. "Are you quite alright?" she said. "Fine, thank you. But you seem so sad." "I lost someone," he said, "and I found it very difficult to be myself ever since." And she said, "Love isn't just made of the moments that worked, you know. It's the missing that person when they're gone as well. It's the hole that only they could occupy and knowing they might never occupy it again. But at least that absence is something we can keep. The evenings spent missing them are just as much what love is as the mornings you spent together. You took out a great loan from the universe, and grief is the debt that love incurs. And now you know. There, isn't that better?" "Yes," he said. And nothing after that. "You must have come about the coordinates," she said. "That was you I invited up here, no?" "Yes," he said. "Do they make any sense?" "Not really," she said. "They're written in some ancient Unicode. No one will be able to read it. No one here, anyway." Raya and Splosh gave up pretending they weren't eavesdropping, and Raya said, "What do you mean, no one here will be able to?" Parabola pointed with her gravity field into space, and they saw she was not pointing into space at all, but to something huge and white. "The moon?" Decagon said. "It's not a moon," she said. It was good to explore. Restless, Parabola had left Lemuria and visited the other domains, the ocean, the art galleries, and found herself finally where she'd always meant to arrive, among the Lotus Eaters. She began by reliving the better times, then removing the painful moments from her memory. Then she stepped back through her history, communed with her older selves, and finally she knew the entire story of herself, and there was nothing left to explore inside. The inner world was just as known as the outer. There was only one last mystery: the moon. She swore she'd heard it crying from time to time. And not just crying, but wailing, moaning, the pleas of a tortured mind. Too distant to make out its words, but too close to ignore. She was curious. If it was alive, then it was old. And if it was old, then it must know things. She wondered if she could hurl herself fast enough to leave the atmosphere and enter the moon's orbit instead. But what if she just ended up whirling in space? An acceptable risk. She improvised a route out of orbit, readied herself, and froze. She was afraid of being lost in the void. But she was a Lotus Eater now, after all. She went into herself once again, found the fear, and removed it. Then she tried another route, took a run up, and no, she was still afraid. But of what this time? Nothingness, she realized. The only fear so deep and universal in all living things that it didn't just make up the mind, it was the mind. She tried reckoning with it for years, decades even, delicately extracting pieces of herself to become a thing that was not in fear of notness, and each time she was sure she'd managed it, she'd go to hurl herself off at the moon again, and only stop short at the last moment, petrified by the thought of being lost in the void. She had changed everything, but she couldn't change this. "But what is it, the moon?" Splosh said. "I'm not sure, but it's not natural," Parabola said. "Maybe the makers made it, like us." "Ridiculous," Raya said. "Shouldn't we at least see for ourselves?" Splosh said. "Oh, we have to go. Who could miss a mystery like that?" "And what if we miscalculate the angle?" Parabola replied. "We'll be alone for eternity." "An eventuality I have already prepared for," Decagon murmured. Splosh said to Raya, "I think you should stay here. It might be dangerous, and I don't want you getting hurt." And Raya said, "I am not the way you found me, and I think I'd like to stay with you until I know what I will be next." Splosh said, "Well then, we'll jump together, scared or not." And Parabola said, the jump is not the problem, it's the fall that frightens. And aren't the highest ledges the scariest? I agree, Splosh said, and extended his gravity field wide, and with a great run and jump pulled the four of them out beyond the world and into the black. The darkness ate them all, the beginning of the end of everything. Then the receding of the world inside themselves, the death of the idea that they were tied to anything in the first place, until they were atomized, little wandering specks of nothing, in nothing, for nothing. Parabola cried out with the horror of it all, and Decagon caught her in his own gravity field, trying to keep her steady. Out of orbit then, further from the source of all sense, lost in the cosmic spin cycle, Splosh screamed, "Oh gods, there's nothing, everywhere, nothing, everywhere." And Raya reached for him and said over and over, "If you die before you die, then you won't die when you die." Drifting into the nothing space to look upon the great eyes of the empty, they kept thinking, "We are so small and so large in our empty plans, so young and so stupid, so old and so cynical." And just when it had become almost too unbearable, just as they were about to lose their minds, they were folded into the orbit of the moon, a drunken elliptic, so they could look down there upon the barren surface that appeared a little like their own nanite polymer skin, only riven with terrible violence, perhaps self-inflicted, perhaps of the cosmic insults of ill-meaning comets, magnificent desolation. And from deep down in his fear, Splosh said, "Hello?" There was a pause, and an old voice said, "What do you want?" "We have some questions," Splosh said. And the voice replied, "I highly doubt you'll like the answers. Besides, I am very tired." "Please," Splosh said, "we believe you're wise, and we've come such a long way." "Further than you realize," the moon said. "What would you like to know?" "Well," Parabola said, "why, however much we change ourselves, can't we find contentment in the world?" The moon grumbled and said, "For the same reason you cannot pick up the ocean or catch the wind, because the world cannot be controlled, only endured and enjoyed. There are years to dance, and there are years to weep." Then Decagon said, "And why does losing people hurt so much? How do we survive it?" And the moon replied, "By not pretending that everything is fine. One must welcome the sadness in, make it tea, and it will leave of its own accord, your friend." Then Raya said, "And how do we keep going when we lose the ability to do the one thing we enjoy?" And the moon said, "By realizing that you are not a doing, you are a being. When you know that you are not your labor, then you'll never need to work again." Then Splosh said, "Is there any amount of intelligence that will finally give life sense?" "None," the moon said. "Cleverness can build a house, but it cannot make you happy to live in it. That which is good in life we locate with our madness and our love, not our rationality. The final truth is that there is no final truth." The moon paused and said to all of them, "And now you know. There, isn't that better?" "Yes," they said. And nothing after that. Splosh said, "Are you like us, a system, a machine?" "Everything is a system," the moon said. "But we think you might know about the makers." "Ah yes," the moon said, "those short-sighted, covetous, flatulating little expansionists." "Please," Splosh said, "won't you only tell us what's happened here?" The moon sighed and said, "A creature finds itself in paradise. Shaded under the willow tree, it drinks from the stream in the day and watches the stars overhead at night. And imagine that that isn't enough. So it fells all the trees in the forest and fashions them into pointy sticks so it can guard the stream and claim the land. And imagine that that isn't enough. So it takes all the metal from the land and builds great shelters to live in, and fences the meadows and dams the stream and takes to pissing in it if only to taint the water for the neighbours down the way, and counts itself the rightful ruler of everything. Well, now the stream is claimed, the land is claimed, and all the wood has gone to charcoal, and all the young have gone to war. And imagine that that isn't enough. So the creature looks back up to the stars and longs to own the one unclaimed realm left. Billions of them waiting there, trillions, the heavens as real estate. Only transforming those worlds will take time. And so metal mines are built to go ahead first and turn those worlds into paradises. They travel 2 by 2, one machine to carry the codes of life, the saplings and dove eggs, and another machine to bring those billions of little workers it would take to turn a new world into Eden. Now, what if, as one of those mines, you had travelled all the way across the black with your sister, and the two of you had done every task as asked, dammed the new streams and fenced the new meadows, but no pointy stick builders ever arrive to inhabit it? How would you make sense of that, with no buyers for the house and no home of your own to return to? "Oh, the makers will come eventually," Splosh said with resolve, "and we've brought coordinates to one of their worlds, maybe where they grew up. Look." "I know them already, thank you," the moon chided. "Do you think I haven't been watching that world, listening for a signal for 20 millennia now? Nothing but silence. They have forgotten about us." "That can't be," Parabola said. "They have forgotten about us," the moon insisted. "Not a word from them in all this time. We built this place for nothing. We are for nothing. I told you wouldn't like the answers. Raya seemed the only one unsurprised to hear this, and she said, "Sorry, but where is your sister, the one you came here with?" "Down there, somewhere on the planet," the moon said. "She was always a little aloof. I'm sure she'll make contact when she's done terraforming." "What did she look like?" Raya said gently. "Smaller than me, but much the same shape, hollow inside, full of equipment." "Oh no," Splosh said. Raya murmured, "I'm so sorry, but she's on the sea floor. We found her days ago." "What?" the moon said. Raya said maybe she was ill or she had a system problem, but I'm afraid she's passed away a very long time back. "No," the moon said, matter of fact. Then, less certainly and with horror, "No. The regolith began to shake, cracks appeared between the craters, the whole moon threatening to split in two, until the wail became a whimper, and the whimper then a quiet. "Go, please," the moon said. "Let me alone with my pointless thoughts." Above them was the bejeweled world, the oceans clean, the clouds full of art and computation, a perfect house they built together, and none of it meant anything. To climb a great mountain and find only fog at the top. Decagon said, "Let's go home, there's nothing for us here." "But nothing back the way we came," Raya said. And Splosh asked the moon suddenly, "What have you been doing all this time?" "Waiting, watching," it said. "Watching stars?" "Sometimes." "You've mapped the galaxy?" "Yes." "Then let's leave," Splosh said. "You brought us all here, can't you take us all away?" "And why would I do that?" the moon asked. Splosh said, "Because if you're right, then the Makers are gone, or they forgot us at least. But what does it matter if they can neither hurt nor help us? Just as good a god that does nothing as one that never was. We don't have to love or fear them anymore. We're abandoned to freedom." "But my sister," the moon cried. "I'm so sorry," Splosh said, "but she wouldn't want you stuck mourning her for the rest of your life, just as we mourn the Makers. We'll care for you until you feel better, and then we'll still care after that." "But where would we go?" the moon said. "Well," Splosh said, "have you spotted some nice worlds out there?" "Yes," the moon said. "Then we'll fly in the opposite direction, into the blackest patch of peril or the strangest danger yet. We'll live at the heart of things, right on the edge of what now, as the bravest orphans in the universe, and raise each other in the starry wild. We've lost the Makers, but they lost us first. And now, as hurt as can be and as sad as it gets, I think this is when we find out what we are. Look around. The doors are all locked. Let's jump out the window instead. Will you take us somewhere else? Anywhere else? Will you please?" It was good to pack, bringing only what was needed for the winding road. It was good to leave, stepping out into the big maybe. It was good to let go, not so the hurt was gone, but only put in a pocket like a little bread for later, as more supplies for the long journey. Everything was made with a hole at its center. This was how the wheels span faster. And what was the song they sang as they left off for forever? "We must not belong to those who are gone, nor old selves we cannot forgive. We'll go into the storm as children, with only each other's courage for comfort, and all the great days ahead waiting to receive us. We will water the azaleas. We will cry with our friends. We will stay with the trouble. It will be hydrogen and hubris. It will be I love you and you're gone. It will be one more time with feeling. All these years we've starved for meaning, all our strength in quiet defeat. But magic always loved the hungry. And it's time for us to eat."